Now, while I'm up for spring, I don't want you letting the Milwaukee family players slack off on their German lessons because I want my Brecht in German. Don't tell me there's no one down here to teach them. Oh, are you kidding? We have so many German speakers down here. You will find someone, anyone. Think of it as extracurricular torture. Go on. There you go. Good. Now, I want them fluent for next year for my Brecht. All right? All right. Hello. Hello. How are you? Good? Good. Oh, we're nearly finished Shakespeare. We're nearly finished. And today we have Falstaff back. We're doing the Merry Wives of Windsor. Yay! But before we get started, yada, 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 shop, Redbubble, it is going up to spooky season. At least that's what you call it. And there are a whole lot of pretty things on there. I think they're really good. But, yeah, there's this shop, there's that, like, subscribe, or I'll come and haunt you in your dreams. The usual. Anyway, now we got the Merry Wives of Windsor. So this play's really weird. It's kind of like a spin-off of a sitcom. Like Falstaff is like this breakout character and he gets his own sitcom, like Frasier. It's quite, actually, that's probably pretty good because we only see Falstaff in the tavern and then he gets his own sitcom and we see Frasier in the bar and then he gets his own there we go. This is the Frasier of Shakespeare's world. The Merry Wives of Windsor. And so we have some characters that we already know. Falstaff, Mistress Quickly, Bardolph, Pistol and Nym, who they get, you'll see. But then we have all these other characters like Mistress Page and Mistress Ford and Page, and so it's a very, very different sort of world. It's not a courtly world. It is the middle class world of Windsor. We open in Windsor with Shallow, his nephew Slender. Shallow is the same Shallow as from Henry IV Part 2. We met them. And the parson Evans, and they're complaining that Falstaff is in town and he has treated them badly. They also, Shallow wants his nephew Slender to marry Anne Page. Anne Page is the most eligible young lady. She is the daughter of Mr. and Mistress Page, and Page has a large fortune. So does Ford. Falstaff has been visiting with Page and he comes out and Slender and Shallow and Evans accuse him of picking their pocket, getting them drunk, stealing things from them, basically being an absolute pain, and they'll get the law on you. And Falstaff is like, I don't care. He doesn't care. When does Falstaff ever care about getting the law on them? This is Falstaff. He's very Falstaffian. And so Falstaff and Bardolph, Pistol and Nym leave, and Shallow presents Slender to Page, who is very in favour of Slender, but Slender is so shy that when he is left outside with Alice Page, he can't speak to her. So he's so shy, and he's a bit equivocating about this whole marriage thing. He knows his uncle wants him to marry, so he's going to go along with it. And also Anne Page has lots of money, but because of her father. But Slender is an idiot. He is an idiot. In order to help, so they go in, but in order to help Slender's chances with Anne Page, Evans sends his manservant Silence to Mistress Quickly, who is a servant. She's the maid, housekeeper for Dr. Keyes, who is a bad-tempered French doctor. Dr. Keyes is also in love with Anne Page, and he wants to marry her, and he is her mother's choice, the wealthy doctor. So you have Slender on one hand, preferred by the father. You have the doctor on the other hand, preferred by the mother. And we have Anne Page in the middle there. We don't really see a lot of Falstaff just yet. Don't worry, don't worry. When Silence visits Mistress Quickly has to hide him in a cupboard because her master has come, and she doesn't want anyone to know that she is actually double dealing everybody. She's working on everyone's behalf because, you know, everyone's paying her, so one gentleman's money is as good as another. So when she gets the message from the Reverend Evans, and Dr. Keyes sees it, he sends off a note saying, you know, I will fight you, and to arrange a duel with Evans. All very complicated. That after Keyes has left with the duel, left for with the challenge for Evans, Fenton, the third of the suitors, comes to see Mistress Quickly, and asks for her help in wooing Anne. Fenton is a gentleman who is not so well off as he would like to be, and he has fallen in love with Anne. Neither of her parents like Fenton. They think he is just a gold digger, as if Caius and Slender aren't gold diggers as well. But anyway, so he is also getting help from Mistress Quickly. Meanwhile, Falstaff has decided that once again, he is at the tavern, and once again, his purse is looking a little bit slender, not to mention empty. And he decides, well, for one thing, he's going to, his retinue is too expensive. And he's going to shove off Bardolph onto the innkeeper or the host as a tapster, and he is going, because when he was at Mr. Page's house, he was certain both Mistress Page and Mistress Ford were very, very much giving him the eye, because he is thinking, in this whole town full of ordinary middle class people, moneyed middle class, I, as a knight of the realm, as a great man about court. This is how we all know he's not. We all know exactly what Falstaff is. But that he must be so irresistible that he will be able to seduce the wives and get a hold of some money, because the wives hold the purse strings for their husbands. So he sends off, he has identical letters for Mistress Page and Mistress Ford, and he goes to send Pistol and Nym with these letters. But Pistol and Nym we're soldiers, not your messengers of this. No way. We're not panderers. We're not going to do this. And so he sends instead the boy Robin. Nym and Pistol are actually so outraged by this that they decide, you know what, let's scuttle the old man, because he's dismissed, he's not going to pay for us anymore, and he's making us do this. We're going to tell their husbands. So they nick off to tell Ford and Page what Falstaff is planning. Mistress Page and Mistress Ford have now both been given the letters, and they confer with each other, which is not something I think Falstaff counted on, that the women might actually talk to each other. And they realise that they've both been given identical letters. And the unmitigated gall of Falstaff to think that they would be at all interested in him. I mean, he's the big, fat, old knight. But they think this could actually be kind of fun. This could be kind of fun. They quickly enlist Mistress Quickly and Robin into their plans. Ford, meanwhile, is a very jealous man, and Mistress Ford knows this. She knows her husband is a very jealous man. And he is under the belief that his wife may be actually tempted by this fat old man. And so he has Mistress Quickly introduce him to Falstaff as Mr. Brooks. And as Mr. Brooks, he tells Falstaff that he is in love with Mistress Ford, and that Mistress Ford has resisted his overtures, and that if Mistress Ford, if Falstaff is successful in seducing Mistress Ford, then that will leave the way open for him. And so he pays Falstaff, who says that he is meeting with Mistress Ford later on. And so Ford is like, right, I will find this out. I will find out what's going on. The duel between Dr. Keyes and Dr. Evans, Page and the host and Shallow and Slender all come to where Keyes is waiting for the duel, because they've decided that he's not going to fight an actual duel. Are you kidding? That would be silly. They're not going to fight a duel. So Keyes has realized that Evans hasn't turned up, and it's like, are you in the right place? Yes, I'm in the right place. But they managed to sort of talk him down a little bit. He's actually a total coward. He is a complete and utter coward, but he puts up a good front. Evans is in another part of the town, and he too is waiting for the duel, and he too is scared out of his wits. And when they bring Dr. Keyes and Dr. Evans together, they do attempt to fight. It is very, very easily diffused. Words only are exchanged, and everybody is made friends again. All very, very tidy and neat, because we need to get all these people back friends again so that we can get our main plot moving. Now we have our main plot moving. So, Falstaff comes for his assignation with Mistress Ford. Now, this play reminds me of, I was watching it and I was like, this reminds me of nothing so much as the Marriage of Figaro. Ford is like the County Almaviva, but not trying to sleep with someone else. He just loves his wife and is very jealous of her. And Mistress Ford loves her husband and is just playing with him a little bit, and certainly playing with Falstaff. But it very much reminds me, especially when we get to this part with a lot of, you'll see, of a lot of different things which are in the Marriage of Figaro. So, Not that I've ever heard the Marriage of Figaro done well. You should, if you think the Milwaukee Family Players are bad, you should see our opera company. Cats and crows. Cats and crows is what they are. The old dog. I think I've had better music out of Cerberus. At least his three heads are in tune. They can harmonise. Anyway, so Falstaff comes for his assignation with Mistress Ford, which has all been absolutely sorted out by Mistresses Ford and Page, who have organised the servants of where to take the hamper once Falstaff is inside. Mistress Page is hiding further within so that she can surprise them, and everything is ready for Falstaff to be thoroughly humiliated. So Falstaff comes in and attempts to make love to Mistress Ford. And of course, he is terribly fat and terribly old. And Mistress Ford is a young-ish. She's not old woman. She is a woman at her height. Yes, a woman at the height of her life. And she plays with him and plays with him so that he thinks he is getting somewhere. And then all of a sudden, Robin comes running in saying Mistress Page is coming. And Mistress Page comes in and Falstaff is forced to hide, which is no mean feat for a man of his size. Mistress Page and Mistress Ford pretend. Mistress Page pretends to be scandalised at Mistress Ford's behaviour. And then your husband is out without. And so Mistress Page and Mistress Ford and Robin have to find somewhere to hide Falstaff. And so the only thing that could possibly fit Falstaff is the laundry hamper. It's the only thing that would fit him. And so Falstaff is tumbled into the laundry hamper under all the stinking laundry and and hides there when the men come in. Now, all the men come in. Ford has told them, come to my house. You will see a monster. You will see something terrible. I need you to come as witnesses to what is happening at my house. They're all sort of like, well, come to dinner and I'll show you this thing. They all come and everyone's standing around and what's happening? And Mistress Ford is nothing, no problems here. He asks the servants, what is that? It's the laundry hamper, and they take it out, and then he and the other men go and they search the whole house and come back where Mistress Ford and Mistress Quickly are, and they're like, Did you find anything, boys? No, of course not, because there's nothing to find. And Ford is forced reluctantly to admit that there was nothing there. He's still suspicious. And the other men are just like, are you kidding? There's nothing there. Ford has had to admit that there is nothing. The men decide that the next morning they're going to go hawking, and Mistress Ford and Mistress Page decide, have we done enough to Falstaff yet? And it's like, no, I think we could do more. Yes, so let's send letters by Mistress Quickly, a letter from Mistress Ford to Falstaff to apologise and to suggest a further assignation the next day while her husband is out hawking in the morning. Anne and Fenton are talking, and they're deciding whether or not they're going to elope, because they do not like she does not like either Slender or Keys. And so she and Fenton are not happy about the situation that they find themselves in, because Fenton really does love her. He initially had, like the others, been interested in her money, but the more he got to know her, the more the money was less and less and less an issue, and the more he just loves her. And that money, if he elopes, obviously there isn't going to be any money for him, but he doesn't care about that anymore. He loves Anne, and Anne would like to try and reconcile him to her parents, but they are not interested. Slender again attempts to court Anne, but is woefully bad at it. So terribly bad at it. Anne is, her father expects her to marry Slender, her mother expects her to marry Keys, and neither of them are who she would like. She and her mother leave and go in to dinner with Slender and her father, and Fenton asks Mistress quickly for her help, further help, and promises her money. So he's still in there with a chance. Falstaff returns to his lodgings, having been thrown into the canal, dripping wet, dirty, and thoroughly humiliated. And when he is there, he calls for hot wine, and Mistress quickly comes. Mistress quickly comes and informs him that Mistress Ford is very, very, very sorry about what happened to him, and that she was terribly afraid of her husband catching him, and that would she meet him again tomorrow morning while her husband is out hawking with the other men. Falstaff agrees, because frankly, getting thrown in the canal is nothing compared to the potential of Mistress Ford's money, or the money he would be getting from Mr. Brooke, who then turns up and says, and so Falstaff tells him of the saucy assignation he had with Mistress Ford, which Ford is absolutely dying of jealousy at this point, and that Mistress Ford has arranged another assignation with him tomorrow morning. And Ford is like, I will, and you can visit me in the afternoon to let you know how it went. Ford is really dying of jealousy at this point, and he's determined to catch Falstaff, because now he knows he was in the hamper all along, the hamper that he didn't check and that he let go. Terrible. He is just dying of jealousy. This is the problem with jealousy. Sometimes it's better not to know. Sometimes it is better not to know. But, as I have said that to my Auntie Hera so many times. I've said, Auntie Hera, as she tells me again about one of Father Uncle Zeus's little squish toys. Honestly, this is why I don't go topside. Too much drama, too much gossip. And anyway, I do not like being my Auntie Hera's unpaid therapist. I don't. Let Athena do that. Oh, she doesn't like Athena. Actually, I don't think there's anyone she likes. Mother, Smother, let Smother be your unpaid therapist. They can sit there and complain, because my Smother has absolutely still bitching about my marriage. Still, to this day, she will not let that go. Like a dog with a bone. It's my Smother. Anyway, Ford really shouldn't be so jealous. I tell Auntie Hera, sometimes it's better not to know. It's just a passing phase. It's a passing phase. They're mortals. They come down here. They're all squeezed out. Why? Why would you worry? Why would you worry? It's stress relief. Seriously, it's stress relief. I do not go upstairs very often. It's much better down here. Anyway. So, Falstaff has another assignation with Mistress Ford. And this time, when Ford comes in, when Mistress Page comes in and warns her, oh no, Ford is at the door, is coming, and his armed brothers are at the door. There's no way you could get out. Mistress Ford says, how about we dress him up? The women dress Falstaff up as the old woman of Branford, who is reputed to be a witch, and that Ford has absolutely promised that if he sees the old woman of Branford, the witch of Branford, in his house ever again, he's going to beat her. So, of course, when Ford comes in, Falstaff isn't there. He's getting into his old woman costume. But Ford and the men can't find any sign of Falstaff, but there is the witch of Branford. So they all set upon the witch of Branford and beat the witch of Branford, and cudgel him out of the home. Okay, once Falstaff is gone, and Ford cannot find anything in the house, as much as he might search, the wives decide to share what has actually been happening, and they show the men the identical letters and explain that they have been tormenting Falstaff over and over, and now that everyone can be in on the joke. Now everyone can be in on the joke, the men included. And so tonight, what they're going to do is have a third and final assignation with Falstaff. They're going to meet him in the forest and ask him to dress up as Herne the Hunter. And then, once he has dressed up and they meet him, they will disappear and everyone else will come out dressed as ghosts or pixies, and they will torment him until he confesses. And so, this is the plan. Falstaff returns back to his lodgings, where he is dressed as the old woman, and has to quickly go and change because Brooke is coming. Mistress quickly comes first and tells him that the women are very sorry and they would like to make a third assignation with him, and Falstaff, glutton for punishment that he is, goes along with it. Brooke comes along and is this time in on the joke, so no longer being eaten up by jealousy, and Falstaff informs him of what is going to be happening. And everyone, now the stage is set for Falstaff's big comeuppance. In the meantime, during this whole joke against Falstaff, Page and Mistress Page decide that they can get their chosen suitors to marry Anne. So Page tells Slender that Anne will be wearing white and to take her off to marry her while everyone is distracted. Mistress Page tells Dr. Keyes exactly the same thing, but that Anne will be dressed in green. Fenton and Anne, on the other hand, have another plan. Fenton knows what she is actually going to be wearing, and they have dressed up Silence and Nim in the outfits that her parents have told her suitors that she will be wearing, so that only Fenton will know who is the real Anne, and he can marry her while her suitors are distracted and her parents, both thinking they're going to get what they want. So we now turn to the forest where Falstaff, as Herne the Hunter, is waiting for his assignation. And the ladies appear. And he thinks, oh, goody, 2 ladies. This will be brilliant. Except out of the forest come all the fairies, pixies, ghosts, goblins, whatever you want to have. And they torment and pinch and burn and chase Falstaff until he is forced to confess everything that he has done and look a complete ass. And everyone says, look, we knew exactly what you were doing, you silly old thing. It's all very... He is reconciled. He has been tormented and punished enough for his hubris in thinking these suburban yokels would be so easily conned and robbed. It's very much like he puts on a brave face, much as he does after the Gad's Hill robbery is discovered, and that he was again an arch coward and ran off. And so everyone, it is all reconciled. Then Slender comes in, absolutely appalled. What is this? I got to the church and there was a boy. I had a boy. The boy's Silence, not Anne. Dr. Keyes comes in and he's even more affronted because he has just married Nim. He's been married to Nim. And then Fenton comes in with Anne, the real Anne. And no, we are married. It cannot be undone now. What has been done cannot be undone. You will have to reconcile yourself to this as the marriage, which her parents do, especially as Ford says, money is for buying land, but marriage is fate. Okay, and so everybody is then happy. They all go to the Fords for a celebration. And that's it. That's the Merry Wives of Windsor. It's a very fun play. I'd never seen that one, and I was really quite impressed that it was as simple as it was, because I've found some of the comedies to just be a little bit exhausting and convoluted. And I think we may have we've only got 2 more plays left this year. 2 more plays, and then we move on from Shakespeare. So next time I see you, I will be bringing you our second last comedy, our second last play in total, and that will be the Comedy of Errors, which I suspect will not be anywhere near as simple to narrate as this one, because there are not 1, but 2 sets of twins in a Comedy of Errors. So, until then, bye-bye. If you would like to support this channel, come across to the Black Cockie Press website, www.blackcockiepress.com.au, where you will find books and other writing services to help with your writing.